All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to begin with our expedited accusation calendar for today, April 8th, 2023 at 2 p.m. This is a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and brought to the Fulton County Jail. Upon being booked into the jail, the Fulton County prosecutor, which is the Solicitor General's office, has already accused the cases. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a state court judicial officer. When I call your case, I'll let you know what is your new accusation number, what are the charges brought against you, appoint counsel to represent you if one is required, as well as consider your bond and your next court date. Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yes, and what is going to be our next court date? Is it still the 20th of April?
It is.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. For those of you who are given a new court date, that would be the 20th of April, 2023 at 9 a.m. This would be for cases in which individuals are still at the Fulton County Jail. For those of you who are given a signature bond, a bond on your own recognizance, a UJR, or if you do make your bond, please remember that the April 20th date will not be applicable. Once you're released on bond, you will be provided a new court date. That's why it's very important that once you're released on bond, that you check and confirm that we have a current mailing address for you, so you do not miss out on your next court date. For those of you who have been charged with a criminal misdemeanor offense or offenses, please keep this in mind. During the course of these proceedings, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say from this point onwards with regards to your case, such as the facts, the underlying circumstances, or your defenses, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. We do have prosecutors and other individuals who can use your statements, which will be recorded and live streamed, and those statements can be used in the prosecution of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you from either the public defender's office or from the conflict defense list. Who do we have in courtroom 2, please?
Yes, Your Honor, we have position 6, Mr. Griffin.
All right, thank you. This is State versus Joseph Griffin, case number 23 CR 002137D. Mr. Griffin is accused of criminal trespass from April 7th, 2023. I understand, Mr. Howard, yes, sir.
2012 ag assault conviction, 2016 given false name conviction, 2016 probation, 2021 obstruction conviction. He got a burglary. He on probation for burglary, first degree, 2 counts of theft. I take suspended license.
Thank you. Mr. Walker,
Good morning.
do we have you all day today?
It's me and ASG Young.
All right, well, welcome. Yes, Mr.
Thank you.
Walker.
So in this case, the defendant was criminally trespassed from the Hills at Greenbrier Apartments located at 2909 Campbellton Road. For whatever reason, he kept on returning that day. Law enforcement was called and he was arrested for a criminal trespass. The state is asking for $1,000 surety with a stay away from the incident location, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And his appointed counsel today will be
Samantha Adams.
all right, Mr. Griffin, your appointed counsel is Miss Samantha Adams. Yes, Miss Adams, and what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. We ask that Mr. Griffin be given a signature bond. I have spoken with him. He does qualify for our services. Currently, he has a GED. He's between homes right now. He's technically homeless, but he has been connected with some services that we are familiar with. Your Honor, he does also deny the contents of the accusation, the things that were accused against him. And he doesn't have much of a close relationship with our family, but we are looking to connect him with our social worker so that he can be reconnected with those services. It should not be an issue for Mr. Griffin to be able to stay away from the location.
All right, bond is set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. Next court date is going to be April 20th, 2023. And he has to stay 200 yards away from the entire apartment complex at the Hills at Greenbrier Apartments. 2909 Campbellton Road in Southwest Atlanta. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you.
Position 2, Mr. Cunningham.
This is State versus Darius Cunningham, 23 CR 002130E. Mr. Cunningham is accused of battery, domestic violence, and possession of marijuana less than 1 ounce from April 7, 2023. Mr. Cunningham, you've been advised of your right to counsel, to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Adams. Mr. Tucson, I understand this is his first arrest. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Mr. Walker, what's your recommendation? I'm sorry, you're on mute, sir.
My recommendation is a $4,000 surety on the battery family violence, a $500 signature on the marijuana less than 1 ounce. In this case, Your Honor, the defendant attacked the victim, Ms. Tiana Scruggs, while she was holding their newborn child, who was approximately 3 months old. He did push, choke, and kick her and push her to the ground. Our victim witness advocate was able to do a strangulation assessment, and speaking with the victim, she advised to our advocate that she actually lost consciousness during this incident, and she was transported to Grady Memorial Hospital to receive treatment. She also reported to our advocate that they do have a history of DV. With that being said, we are asking for no contact with the victim, Tiana Scruggs. She has moved away from that location, so a stay away would not be necessary. I'm not sure if Ms. Scruggs is on the line, but if so, I would ask that the court sound for her at the appropriate time.
All right. Ms. Scruggs? No sound. Ms. Adams? Ms. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Ms. Scruggs is labeled as iPhone 2.
Let's find out.
Ariana was unable to make the call today because she don't have any phones for that to be able to be on the call. Her guardian, and she has some other relatives that's on the phone on her behalf.
All right, thank you. Whoever that was. All right.
This is Mrs. Scruggs.
I'm sorry, you need your video on, Ms. Scruggs, so that I can understand with whom I'm speaking. All right, she's muted herself. All right, sorry, Ms. Adams, you may proceed.
Yes.
I'm not mute. I was
Okay.
trying to just work it. It's not letting me turn.
All right.
Okay, maybe the camera's on now. Are you able to see me now?
Good. And also, you should learn that you do not interrupt when I've asked somebody else to speak.
Oh, sorry.
All right, would the host please mute Tiana Scruggs, please? Thank you. All right, Ms. Adams, sorry about that. Please continue.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cunningham, he has an 11th grade education. He actually has twins on the way. He's gainfully employed. He helps his mother with his bills. He was born and raised right here in Georgia, so he has ties to the community and it's not a flight risk. As a matter of fact, his whole family lives here. This is his first ever arrest in his life. He denies the allegations that are made against him. As a matter of fact, there's a lot more to the story based on my information that I received from Mr. Cunningham, such as the way in which aside from the fact that he denies the allegations in totem, Your Honor, Ms. Scruggs also, aside from the story that she told the police, she also acted out at the home of Mr. Cunningham, where he resides with his mother. That address does belong to his mother, and it is where he lives. It was all because they asked Ms. Scruggs to no longer be there anymore. So with that, Your Honor, we're asking that, considering the fact that Mr. Cunningham does not have a violent history, as a matter of fact, he has no history at all, that he be given a signature bond.
On the battery domestic violence, that's going to be a $2,500 surety bond. On the possession of marijuana, that's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services. This is going to be a split bond for $3,500. When he reports to pretrial, he needs to make sure that he also shows proof that he's enrolled in a 12-week anger management program, and he may begin that program within 60 days of being released. He is not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. He's to stay 200 yards away from Tariana Scruggs. And Mr. Cunningham, if you don't understand that, that means that you do not contact Ms. Scruggs and you do not communicate with her in person. You stay 200 yards away from her. You do not try to reach out to her through a third party. You do not try to reach out to her through a phone, a computer device, or even on social media. If you violate any of the conditions of this no contact, you could end up being charged with a felony offense and be in jail with no bond. You must show proof that you've enrolled in the anger management classes within 60 days. So by your third visit to pretrial, you must show proof that you've started those classes. With regards to third-party transfer of any child or children that he shares with Ms. Scruggs, he may file a legitimation action and seek visitation and custody with regards to any children or child that he shares with Ms. Scruggs. There cannot be any third-party transfer until we get a court order from Superior Court. Mr. Cunningham, do you have any questions about your bond?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Next court date is April 20th. If you do make bond, make sure that you keep in touch with the court and your attorney to get your next court date. Thank you.
You too.
Position 3, Mr. Dickerson.
Eddie Dickerson Jr. is accused of criminal trespass and misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Case number 23 CR 002132E. The alleged incidents on April 7, 2023. Mr. Dickerson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Adams. And I understand this is the 13th arrest. Any outstanding holds, Mr. Howard?
I don't know about the holds.
Okay.
He had he was arrested earlier this year for obstruction, 2 counts. Misdemeanor possession of marijuana, reckless conduct, 2 counts. 2019 simple battery out of Louisiana. 2019 domestic battery, simple assault. He got a few probation violations from 2018, 1 trespass conviction. 2017 felony obstruction and robbery, simple battery, first offender. And 2017 FTA simple battery, 2016 shoplifting conviction.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
The state was just going to recommend a $2,000 pretrial bond with the condition of a stay away from all MARTA. Upon reviewing the warrant, I see that he's permanently been banned from MARTA. So we are asking for a $2,000 pretrial services bond.
Any objection, Ms. Adams?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what he said.
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
No objections, Your Honor.
The criminal trespass is going to be $1,500. The misdemeanor possession of marijuana is $2,000. His total bond is set at $2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. Per judge, consider he's got an open case. And Mr. Dickerson, you now have 2 open cases that I know of in the state court of Fulton County. If you violate the conditions of this bond, I will revoke the bond and convert it to a cash bond. Do you understand, sir? Condition to the bond is to stay away from all MARTA property, including buses and trains and their stations, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. You are to report to pretrial once a month, and if you fail to report or if you fail to comply with any of the stay away condition, as I said, you will not be the benefit of a signature bond any longer.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That is further notice. Actually, Mr. Toussaint, that will be per the Solicitor General's office on the signature bond. Thank you.
Yeah, I already had it.
Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 4, Mr. Irvin.
This is State versus Darius Irvin, 23 CR 002133A, accused of theft by shoplifting from February 15, 2023. As I understand it, Mr. Irvin has got a history of over 40 arrest records, and that I don't need to proceed any further in terms of his GCIC. Mr. Walker, what's your recommendation?
I'm referring a $2,000 surety bond and a stay away from the Family Dollar, 9145 Roosevelt Highway, Palmetto, Georgia.
Ms. Adams?
Your Honor, Mr. Irvin is, aside from having a high school diploma, he has an ACS certificate from West Georgia Technical College. He's gainfully employed. He takes time on his own accord to voluntarily clean up around the area in which he lives. He rescues dogs, and he is a father of 5. He has 5 children, Your Honor. Obviously, because he is qualified for our services, he doesn't have a lot of money, but he does have to support his 5 children, one who is 11, one is 8, one is 7, one is 5, and one is 4, whom of which he is an active parent in all of their lives. So, Your Honor, with that, we would request that also, too, based on the value of the things he's alleged to have stolen, if it's from the dollar store, Your Honor, it's the value of whatever he's alleged to have stolen, not admitting any guilt in any way, isn't even worth the bond that the state is requesting. So with that, Your Honor, we'll request a signature bond.
Bond is set at $500. This is a surety bond to stay away from the Family Dollar Store at 9145 Roosevelt Highway. Next court date, April 20th. Thank you.
Position 5, Mr. Fowler.
Have a seat. Mr. Fowler, just one moment. This is Brandon Fowler, accused of battery, domestic violence, cruelty in the 3rd degree, and criminal trespass from January 18, 2023. This is Mr. Fowler's second arrest on file. His counsel is Miss Adams. His prior arrest, I believe it was a conviction, was from 2022 for DUI. Mr. Walker, do you have a recommendation for the current case?
Yes, for the battered family violence, the state is recommending a $2,500 surety. For the cruelty to children, I'm recommending a $1,500 surety. For the criminal trespass, it'll be a $1,000 surety. In this case, the defendant came through the victim's window. He did punch a hole in the wall and attack the victim while she was holding their child, I believe, and their son, who is a juvenile, was also present for this incident. The juvenile's initials are BF. So the state is asking for a no contact with the victims and a stay away from the incident location, 868 Trestle Tree Court. And the victim's name is Ashley Smith, if I did not state it earlier.
Thank you. Miss Adams?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Fowler, as a high school diploma, he's a father of 3. His youngest child is only 2 weeks old. He has a 3-month-old and a 5-year-old, Your Honor. He's gainfully employed and has a very long work history. Mr. Fowler also actually serves as an armed security officer.
I'm sorry, armed security officer?
Yes, Your Honor. He vehemently denies the allegations brought against him. He also is looking forward to proving himself not guilty, especially he has a witness that can also help with that. But that's not the purpose of today's hearing. The purpose of today's hearing is for bond. And so with that, Your Honor, he is not a violent man. He's never been arrested, with the exception of this particular accusation of anything violent. And so with that, Your Honor, we're asking that he be given a signature bond. And also, Your Honor, because he is employed as an armed security guard, if he loses his ability to carry a firearm, it will be very difficult for him to work. He has 3 jobs. All jobs that he has are as an armed security guard. So he would go from being gainfully employed, and it may be very difficult for him to be able to take care of his 3 children.
Mr. Walker, is there a incident report with regards to this matter?
I believe there is, Your Honor, but give me 1 second, I can double check.
And is there anyone here to speak out on behalf of this particular case, Mr. Fowler, or the alleged victim? No? Okay.
I'm not sure if she's here, but I do have the incident report, Your Honor. Is there a specific question or?
Yes, anything with regards to the alleged property damage?
Yes, he punched a hole in the wall.
Did the officer observe that?
Body cam. He said the injury to her face was documented along with the hole in the wall. So yes, the officer did observe that, Your Honor.
Your Honor, for clarity, are you asking whether or not the officer observed Mr. Fowler create a hole in the wall, or whether or not he just observed the hole?
The warrant indicates that Mr. Fowler wasn't on the scene when the officers were there.
Correct. So he
Well-
observed the visible injury and a hole in the wall. But you are correct that he was not on the scene.
And Ms. Adams, who is this alleged witness that can corroborate Mr. Fowler's account of the events?
I do not have that witness's name, Your Honor, but Mr. Fowler here is in the court. He should be able to give you that person's name. He was on FaceTime the entire time that he was at the location when this alleged incident occurred.
All right.
Mr. Fowler, would you mind telling?
Actually, my baby mom was just on Ashley Smith. She was just on the Zoom meeting. I don't know why she got off. But I also have a witness. I don't know his full name, but his name is Quatavius. I don't know his last name, but I have the number. And also was on FaceTime while the incident went down.
There was a FaceTime call during the alleged dispute.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, Ms. Adams, I'm sure you'll be able to get that information as soon as possible.
Yes, Your Honor.
Presently, what is of great concern is that this is an alleged incident of violence that raises a lot of protection issues with regards to the alleged victim. On the battery, the bond is going to be $3,000. That's going to be a surety bond. On the cruelty is going to be $500. That's a surety bond. And the criminal trespass is going to be $1,000. Total bond is set at $4,500. That is a surety bond. No further contact with Ashley Smith, which means that you have to stay 200 yards away from Ms. Smith, not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through a third party, through a phone or electronic device. You may return to the location one time only with a police officer to retrieve any personal belongings that you may have there. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. If you are not there with a police officer, you will be in violation of bond and you will be arrested and your bond may be revoked. No contact with any child that you may share with Ms. Ashley Smith. If you want to seek contact with the children, you will have to file a legitimation action. Unless, of course, you are married with her, then that would not be an issue. Then third-party transfer is permitted. But if you're not married to her, you would need to file a third-party legitimation. You need to file a legitimation action in order to get visitation in custody. While you are out, if you are released on bond, please make sure that you do not also possess any weapons or firearms. This is a domestic violence matter. You are not allowed to possess or own any firearms. So if you own any, you have to surrender those to the authorities for destruction. You will have to report to your employer that this is your current situation, and you will need to be placed in a position where firearms are not required. Saying, yes, Mr. Fowler.
I'm already legitimized.
All right, then you have a visitation and custody order.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then you will comply with the visitation and custody, and then I'll amend the legitimation. You must comply with the visitation and custody through a third party. There must be a neutral third party who would assist in the visitation and custody of child or children that you share with Ms. Smith. You cannot do so directly with Ms. Smith. Thank you.
Position 8,
Oh, I'm sorry. The next court date for Mr. Fowler is April 20th.
April 20.
Position 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This is Tyrique Larkin. Would that be correct? Okay. Mr. Larkin is accused of theft by taking from April 7th, 2023. I understand this is his third arrest. His appointed counsel is Ms. Adams. Case number is 23 CR 002134B.
My apologies for interrupting, Your Honor. Anna Wright is also an attorney here with the Public Defender's
All
Office.
right,
Please have
sorry.
her represent.
No problem. Thank you. Apologize for that. Mr. Larkin, your attorney is going to be Miss Anna Wright. Welcome, Miss Wright. Yes.
Thank you,
Let's go first with Mr. Young. Mr. Young, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge. The state's recommendation on this case is a $2,000 bond, no further contact with the victim, Isabella Venne, if I'm pronouncing that right. The last name is spelled Venne. And the state's recommendation is just a $2,000 bond. This defendant allegedly stole an iPhone 14 that was inside of a pink phone case without her permission, and she attempted to retrieve it back. And the defendant wanted her to pay $100 to get her property back that he had stolen.
All right, Miss Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. In speaking with Mr. Larkin, first of all, he's lived in Atlanta for over 10 years. He's got 2 jobs. He works at temp service and he also works as a security guard. He's been working both jobs for the last 2 years. In speaking with him, he let me know that he very much will be taking accountability for his actions, that he is incredibly sorry, incredibly embarrassed by his actions, and he's prepared to do what's right. I'm asking for a signature bond so that he's able to return to the community, stay productive, and he can handle his case as soon as we're able to.
And Mr. Young, are you aware at all if the victim retrieved her phone and is in working condition?
Yeah, no, I'm not entirely sure based on the warrant. If you give me a moment, I can look and see if she was able to retrieve her.
It doesn't say so. Took the item off the counter where the victim placed it. So I'm assuming it was at some public place and she put it on some kind of counter. 6309. That's all the information I have.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that's all we have right now?
Yes, Judge. We were unable to make contact with the victim in order to determine whether or not she actually received her phone.
All right. Could we unmute courtroom 2, please? Mr. Larkin, you have a right to remain silent as your attorney will advise you. Anything you choose to say, your statements can and will be used against you. Since your attorney has already indicated that you allegedly admit to this particular event, what would you like to tell me?
I just had one comment about the phone. I did not harm it at all. My first thought was to give it back. I just definitely feel victims agreed on my adult, and I apologize for that. That's all I wanted to say.
Has the victim got possession of the phone today?
The phone, I think, is in Sandy Springs Police evidence locker right now.
All right. Bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You must report to pretrial once a month. You're not to consume any illegal drugs and not possess any weapons or firearms. No further contact with Isabella Venne. Mr. Young, could you advise the Victim Advocates Division that if they reach out to Miss Ben or Miss Venne, that she would need to reach out to Sandy Springs Police Department to retrieve her phone. If she needs a court order for the Sandy Springs Police Department to surrender the phone back to her, she may, the ASG's office is free to reach out to me and I'll issue one.
Yes, Judge.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr. Larkin, please be advised that if you get arrested again for anything else, or if you fail to report to pretrial once a month, this $2,500 signature bond will be revoked much faster than you can place a call on an iPhone 14. Thank you.
That's per judge.
Per judge, yes, sir.
Position-
Does he have an open case, Tucson, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, the Lawrenceville. I saw a warrant for Lawrenceville.
Okay, thank you.
Position 12, Mr. Wilcox.
12. Okay, yes, position 12 is now position 11. As I understand that there was a defendant by the name of Taylor, and that case has been removed from the C calendar.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Adrian Wilcox.
Yes,
His
ma'am.
case number is 23 CR 00213AG, accused of simple battery and obstruction of hindering a person from making an emergency phone call. Incident date appears to be March 26, 2023. Mr. Wilcox, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Wright. I have a record of 20 arrests. Would that be correct, Mr. Howard?
Yes.
All right. Anything else to add?
On probation for robbery. 20, yeah. He went to felony earlier for the burglary. He got no bond on that. And the other charges in felony was a $15,000 split bond. 2012 FTA for ag assault, probation violation 2011. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Young?
Yes, Judge. Briefly, I amended the accusations on this case. It is actually a battery and obstruction of law enforcement.
Agreed to that.
Oh. All right. So I do note that the simple battery charge has been upgraded to a battery based on the amended accusation. And the willful, obstructing a person from making a call has now been amended to willful obstruction of a police officer. All right, got it. And what is your bond recommendation?
Just the state's recommendation in this case is a $6,000 surety bond. The reason is the felony cases that he have pending from 4 days prior to this incident is also the same victim. In this particular case, law enforcement responded to this incident location. They observed the victim, Gabrielle Jones, running out of the residence screaming, and also observed the ex-boyfriend jumping out a window and running away. Ms. Jones advised that the defendant he advised he was going to break in her home and did, to which he locked herself in a bedroom. The defendant kicked the door and struck her in the face before taking her cell phone.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, so it's a $4,000 total surety bond?
It's $4,000 on the battery and $2,000 for the obstruction.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wilcox was born and raised in Georgia. He currently works loading trucks for delivery for a company called Flowers. He's been working with them for the past 6 months. He does have 2 children. He has no intention, no need to go back to the address. He is fully moved out of that address and he's staying with his sister. So he's got all of his belongings. He's totally denying the allegations and he looks forward to fighting the case in court. We are asking for a reasonable bond of $2,000 total surety, Your Honor.
Thank you. On the upgraded charge of battery, the bond is going to be set at $2,500. On the obstruction is going to be $500. The total bond is going to be $3,000. It's going to be a surety bond. And to stay away from 5100 Welcome, I think it's Welcome Road. Southwest.
Welcome all, Your Honor. I'm so sorry.
Welcome all.
Yes, Your Honor. Pardon me.
All right, Welcome All Road in South Fulton. And no further contact with Gabrielle Jones. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. There shall be no one-time visit to that location for Mr. Wilcox. And Ms. Wilcox, if you possess or own any weapons or firearms, you have to surrender such items to the authorities for destruction. Your next court date is going to be April 20th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Position 1.
This is State versus Peter Carter, 23 CR 0021229G. Mr. Carter has been advised of his right to remain silent. His attorney is Ms. Adams. And Mr. Carter has been accused of fleeing and attempting to elude a police officer from an alleged incident date of January 9th, 2023. I understand this is Mr. Carter's 5th arrest.
see anything driving related. Everything is violent. And he got an open case in state court.
All right, thank you.
It's my case, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is recommending a $2,500 surety bond on the fleeing. In this case, APD pulled over the defendant. Upon making contact with the defendant, he advised that he had an active warrant for aggravated assault, and at that time, he sped off and left the scene. The vehicle was recovered, and the defendant was apprehended at a later date and time. And we are asking for no driving without a valid license as a condition.
Your Honor, I just want to clarify the record. According to the incident report, it doesn't say, I'm sorry, according to the warrant, it doesn't say that he told the officers that he had a warrant for his arrest for aggravated assault. It said for violation of probation on an aggravated assault charge, Your Honor.
Yes.
Apologies, probation.
I just wanted to make sure that that was clear on the record, so it didn't appear as though he had any new charges as it related to something of violent nature, Your Honor.
That's right. I've read the warrant, and I was actually going to ask Mr. Walker about that, but you.
It's probation for ag assault. I'm sorry.
Pardon the pun, but you jumped the gun on that one, so got it. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and so Mr. Walker, please reiterate, what was that bond amount? You were 2,500?
2,500.
Okay. And Ms. Adams, once we've corrected that little bleep, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. With regards to Mr. Carter, he does have a GED. He's a single father of a 5-month-old. He does live with his mother. He just got a brand new job, and he helps his mom with her bills. He was born and raised here in Georgia. And also, to Your Honor, because Mr. Carter is currently in jail on a probation violation, and he will have to sit for a little while, Your Honor, well, at least until he has a court date. As far as I can see, he doesn't have one yet. And with that, Your Honor, we're asking for a signature bond because I don't foresee him getting out right away.
Bond set at 1,500. It's a surety bond. We are going to reset this case to April 20th, along with the other case, 23 CR 006-037G. And both cases will be reset to April 20th at the next SAP calendar.
Your Honor, would you mind repeating
the other case?
Yes.
23 CR
Yes.
006-037G.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Position 9, Morris.
Mr. Morris, please place your arms down. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is State versus Anthony Morris, case number 23 CR 002-135J. Mr. Morris has been accused of battery, domestic violence from September 16, 2022. Mr. Morris, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Miss Wright or Miss Adams? Miss Wright? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And I understand this is Mr. Morris's 9th arrest.
2019 shoplifting, 2016 battery, on probation, possession of a firearm during the commission, 18 SC 160756. They gave him 5 years probation in 2019. And the battery, I saw a dormant bench warrant, 17 CR 007 000J as in Johnny. That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Young?
It's just the state's recommendation in this case is a $3,000 surety bond and no further contact with Rudy and Kemp. We would ask the court to sign for the victim if she's on the Zoom call and to stay away from the incident location of 420 Thomasville Boulevard, Southeast in Atlanta. On September 16th, law enforcement responded to this address in reference to a domestic dispute where Ms. Kemp advised that her child's father, the defendant, attacked her following a verbal dispute that had occurred while the defendant was there visiting their child. Ms. Kemp advised officers that the defendant punched her in the face.
Miss Rudine, is that correct? Kemp? Miss
Yes,
Kemp?
ma'am.
All right. I don't see her on the Zoom. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Morris is born and raised in Atlanta. He has been working for North Italia as part of a worker, prep worker and dishwasher. He's been there for 3 months. He had no idea that there was a warrant out for his arrest. It wasn't until he had an issue with somebody working at MARTA and tried to talk to a manager about it that they ran his name, and that's when everybody found out that he had a warrant for his arrest. Since then, he's been co-parenting his 2 children with Miss Kemp. All Mr. Morris wants is to be able to go back to work. He had a shift this morning at 9 a.m. that he missed. He, like I said, he just wants to be able to go back to work, Your Honor. We're asking for a signature bond through probation or through pretrial so that he's able to do that.
Bond is going to be set at $2,000. That's going to be a cash bond only. This is no further contact with Rudine Kemp and to stay away from 420 Thomas E. Boulevard. The cash bond is also in light of the bond order that was issued by Judge Besson. And the order expressly states that Mr. Morris is to be held in a no bond status and that the case is to be immediately brought before Judge Besson. So I can reset this particular case to the SAP calendar on this particular case. I can reset it to the SAP calendar for April 20th. And the other case, 17 CR 007-000J, will also be reset to as a companion case to the SAP calendar on April 20th. Of course, both cases can be reassigned to Judge Besson's calendar if there is an earlier court date on her schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 10, Raymond.
Your Honor, before you get started with this particular defendant, that my business is concluded with the court. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. Adams, thank you. Ms. Wright will then take notes when we do the final calendar wrap up.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. All right, this is position 10, State versus Terence Raymond, accused of battery domestic violence from February 17, 2023. Case number 23 CR 002139E. Mr. Raymond, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Wright. I understand this is your
15th arrest,
all right, sir.
2023, felony theft by taking. 2022, possession of a knife or firearm during the commission, sale of marijuana. 2011, suspended license. 2019, FTA and probation. Pled no loader shoplifting. 2017. I didn't see any violent convictions.
All right, thank you.
But he
Mr.
just
Young?
got open cases though.
Understood. Thank you. Mr. Young?
Yes, Judge. The state's recommendation in this case is a $5,000 surety bond. No further contact with the victim, Shakina Ali, who I believe is also on the Zoom call. So I would ask the court to sign for her when appropriate, and for the defendant to stay away from the incident location, family violence intervention program. And the victim spoke with our victim advocate, and she is extremely afraid of the defendant. She wants the no contact and stay away orders. And she would also ask the court for anger management and alcohol evaluation, given that on the date of this incident, the defendant was drinking. They had a discussion about ending their relationship, and the defendant punched her in the face several times with a closed fist, also slapped her with an open palm. Law enforcement observed swelling, a bloody nose, a cut to the lip, and slight blackening of the eye. And according to the strangulation assessment, she felt pressure in the face and behind her eyes. And on a scale of 1 to 10 to determine how hard to grip, the victim says it was a 10. So this case would likely get transferred for felony prosecution. However, she could probably better elaborate.
All right, thank you. Ms. Shakina Ali, I do see that you're on the Zoom. You are the alleged victim in this case. If you'd like to contribute to this proceedings, you have to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, you also have a right to not say anything.
I'm trying to figure out how to do my video. Oh, okay.
Thank you. All right, Miss Ali. This incident occurred in February. I've got a Savannah address for Mr. Raymond. So do you and he live together, or have you all lived together?
We do not live together currently. We have lived together in the past.
Do you share any children with him?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And what would you like the court to know? Well, let me ask you this question. Have you sought a protective order against Mr. Raymond in Superior Court?
No, ma'am.
Okay. If you don't have anything to add, I mean, you have an absolute right to not speak to the court. You can speak to the Victim Advocates Division. So it's entirely up to you.
I don't really know what I need to say. I mean, I don't think he's a bad guy. He just needs some drinking.
All right. Thank you. If you could mute your screen, please. Thank you. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Raymond is a Georgia native. He does live in Savannah. He is an aircraft mechanic for Northern Air. He was with the Marine Corps for 14 years, and he's been working for a private company for 7. He does travel around in Georgia for work. He has 7 children. He pays child support for all of his 7 children. And he does have a work trip coming up. Your Honor, we ask that this bond be a signature bond. He doesn't have any violent crimes in his criminal record. And that'll be all. Thank you.
Okay. Bond is set at $3,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is April 20th. You are to have no further contact with Ms. Shakina Ali. You are to stay 200 yards away and not communicate with her in person through a third party, through any kind of phone or computer device, and to also not discuss her on social media. You're not to possess any weapons or firearms. So if you own any, you have to surrender them to the police or law enforcement for destruction. Your next court date is going to be April 20th at 9 a.m. Thank you. Next case, please.
Yeah, courtroom 2, we're done with the last person.
Okay. Do I have any cases at another location? No?
Position number 7.
Wade.
He waived.
All right. We will take care of that then. All right, officer, thank you so much. Y'all are free to close out that panel.
Judge, you got a private attorney on here.
Yes, that's a different matter. I'm just going to go over the calendar first, and then I'll address Mr. Banks. Mr. Walker, you will need to remain for that case. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure Mr. Banks will enlighten us. So for position number 1 is Peter Carter, is a $1,500 surety bond, along with this other open case, and that's both cases are going to be reset to April 20th. Position 2, Cunningham, is a $3,500 split bond. Next court date is April 20th. Position 3, Dickerson, is a, I believe is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Yep. Position 4 is going to be, on position number 3 with Mr. Dickerson. Well, he's got 2 open cases. Okay, that's all right. Position 4, Mr. Irvin, is a $500 surety bond, reset April 20th. Position 5, Fowler, is a $4,500 surety bond, further notice to April 20th. Position 6 is a $1,000 surety bond, reset date April 20th. Position 7 is, I believe, who's the counsel for that case? Miss Young or Miss Wright? Miss Wright?
Your Honor, could you tell me what the name is?
Herman Hill.
That would be me. Yes, Your
All right.
Honor.
And you filed a waiver of appearance for
I
his?
did, Your Honor.
All right, we will address it shortly.
Thank you.
Position 8, Larkin is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 9, Morris is a $2,000 cash bond. Reset date is April 20th, along with the companion case I've already indicated, subject to Judge Besson's scheduling. Position 10, Raymond is a $3,500 surety bond. Reset date April 20th. And position 11, Wilcox is a $3,000 surety bond. Reset date April 20th.
It's 3,000 or 35?
3.
2,500 and 500.
Okay.
All right, we'll address position number 7, and that is Ms. Wright. You have waived appearance for Mr. Herman Hill, case number 23 CR 002-131A. Mr. Hill is accused of a simple battery back from April 7, 2023. He's also got another open case, 22 CR 000-589A.
And 21 CP ag assault. 21 CP 203423.
21 CP?
203
Mm-hmm.
423. That's ag assault family violence.
All right, understood. And I understand this is Mr. Hill's 19th arrest. Mr. Walker or Mr. Young, who would like to chime in?
Is Mr. Young's case if he's still on the line?
Oh, okay.
I can call his cell phone to see. One second. Oh, there he goes. There he goes.
All right. Mr. Young, yes, sir. Please unmute. Please unmute. Thank you.
Okay, which case is this?
This is Herman Hill, position 7.
Okay.
Counsel has waived his appearance, so we're just addressing bond.
All right, give me a moment to. Okay, the state's recommendation was a $2,000 surety bond. No further contact with the victim, Debbie Ann Stanford, and the stay away. I don't know if a stay away would be appropriate in this location. It was at 4403 Fulton Industrial Boulevard, Southwestern Atlanta. I do believe this is a business location.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all for the state.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hill is chronically homeless. He's lived in Atlanta for 25 years. He's disabled. Before his disability, he did work for 15 years. He wanted the courts to know that. The complaining witness in this case has been what he calls a common law marriage for the past 10 years. They've been together for that long. I agree with the state in that the stay away, I think, wouldn't be appropriate because they're just, that was the incident location, but they're homeless, so they are constantly moving around. There's nothing special about that location. We would ask that whatever bond he gets is a signature bond. Like I said, he's chronically homeless. He wouldn't be able to afford any kind of bond.
Okay. He's got firstly a $2,000 surety bond in the bench warrant case, and that would be the other open case that I mentioned, 22 CR 0005898. So he's got already a $2,000 surety bond for failure to appear before Judge Roth. In this particular case, the bond is going to be set at $1,000 surety bond. No further contact with Davion Stanford. And we're going to reset both cases to April 20th at 9 a.m. for the SAP calendar, which is this one and the 589A case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Give me that complete case number, Judge, for that other case.
22 CR 000-589A.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I think that concludes the C calendar. Ms. Wright, you're free to go. I just want to address Mr. Gabe Banks. All right, Mr. Gabe Banks.
Hey, Judge, thank you for indulging me. I have talked to Mr. Walker about this. I understand and appreciate that my client, his name is Leslie Netter.
Netter?
Yes, ma'am. His warrant number is EW 0398857. And his booking number is 2305387.
Let me just pull that up, please. Just give me a moment. 2305387. Okay.
Yes.
And
to be clear, we did speak, and I made it clear that I was not consenting to a bond hearing. Apparently, the defendant was booked at 11 a.m. this morning. I know nothing about this case. It was not on the pull sheet. It's not on the calendar. I do not have a criminal history to go off of. I understand that the defense is asserting that it's his first arrest. I wouldn't know because it's not on today's calendar. I would ask that the court follows this typical protocol and that he served with everybody else that's booked in today on Monday. There's no way I could proceed on a case that I know nothing about, no criminal information. No, we don't even have a waiver that's been filed. I literally have nothing to go off of.
All right.
Well, I would just say the victim is on. I have talked to him today when I went to the jail this morning. I talked to him in the booking area. He authorized me to waive his presence because I knew he didn't make the cut. And I do appreciate what Mr. Walker is saying. However, in light of the fact that the victim is on, I think pretrial could run his history if they wanted to. This guy is 70 years old and he's never been in any trouble before, other than running a stop sign over 37 years ago. He's a loving father. He's a senior vice president with UBS Financial Services. And he lives in the Sandy Springs area. He does not live with the victim, although they do share a child together. And the victim is here and is okay with him having a bond, and the prosecutor can ask him whatever he wants to ask. And certainly I appreciate the position that Mr. Walker is in, and I don't want to overstep my bounds. I was really, in light of the Easter Day weekend, simply trying to, it just makes sense in terms of smart justice and fair justice to consider someone.
I don't know if a surprise bond hearing is smart and fair justice. And
well, Mr. Walker, when we address these cases, I totally agree with you that he should be treated just like we treat all other folks who take their timely turn on the C calendar. But as we have the alleged victim on the screen, Mr. Tucson Howard, would you be able to run a GCI?
You got to call out my whole name? It's already ran. He got booked in this morning, so they already ran it.
And
It's his first arrest.
All right. So you know that part, Mr. Walker. Let's ask Miss Mia Lewis. According to the warrant, that's the alleged victim. Miss Lewis, would you like to contribute to this proceedings?
I'm not opposed of him having a bail.
You need to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not opposed of him posting bail. We have a son, Casey, 5 years old, and he's a great father.
It is very inappropriate to show a child on a Zoom proceeding.
I'm sorry.
Just tell me if you can confirm that the events of the warrant took place or not.
I'm not looking at the warrant, so I cannot confirm that I'm not looking at any of the events.
well, Your Honor, not to cut off the victim.
Just 1 second. Okay. I definitely will give you an opportunity. The warrant alleges that on April 8th, 2023 at 2 a.m., the accused. I don't want to read the warrant because there's a child in the vicinity.
Yes. I have my headphones on.
Just 1 second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss, who's hosting? Mr. Jordan, could you give me screen share rights, please? And Miss Lewis, you can mute your screen.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is the warrant, Miss Lewis. If you look at your screen,